Guys, what a beautiful day. We got blue sky, we got beautiful clouds. We're sitting under this, it's unfinished, but beautiful veranda overlooking the lake here in Sienna Reserves. Soon there's going to be a fountain out there.
Can't wait.
You know what, though? This has been nice and relaxing, but we got to start the show. There's so many choices when you're talking about all the exterior cladding of a house and what makes a house a home and the architectural design. So, what do we talk about today and how do we start our show off?
You know, I think you were just hitting the nail on the head right there. Just talk about the exterior, the cladding, the vinyl. You know, we've got two different kinds of shutters here with a colonial and a board and batten.
Right. Okay, so we've been talking about things like what's that? What else?
We talked about what's up.
Okay.
What's this? But I don't think we've talked about yet what's all around the house.
So all the things, let's do that today.
There you go.
So some examples are,
Yeah, Lonnie, we're looking at this beautiful custom outdoor fireplace. We've got some choices to make on this.
You're right, JR. We might put brick on the front of it. We could put ceramic on the front of it, or a manufactured stone, which is something that we hang, or real stone, which is something that we need to lay.
Yeah, I think today we can explain the differences on how we apply those
Let's
different
talk
products.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and guys, don't forget about vinyl siding. You can't beat the longevity and the maintenance free, and it's come a long way, hasn't it?
It definitely has. You have some of these awesome shakes here that look like even have a weathered look to it.
look at the colors too now.
Very pretty.
Yeah, with all the different colors, I'm just trying to figure out what kind of color I should do. I know you're going to do a segment on telling us more and more about color, but how do you decide all these things?
A lot of decisions. I do have the paint here, but Izzy, we don't need that much paint on the front.
That's
Many
too
of
big.
the fronts are low maintenance, no maintenance. You only need about a pint.
So I
That's
don't
too
need
much.
this. I was ready to paint the whole thing.
No,
Okay,
no.
You know what? I think you can kick the can. Seriously.
Go ahead.
Oh, maybe don't kick it that hard.
That's gonna hurt.
So you know what? Okay, let's do this. Let's all break up the segments. Let's talk about brick, vinyl, all of the applications, ornamentation. Let's all take a subject and go for it.
Well, you know, my wife says that I'm all around.
No, that's not me all around.
I'm not talking about that.
This is all around the home, Lonnie. You know, today's builder has to understand historical architectural features in order to build houses, don't they?
They sure
They
do.
sure do. You know, you're right, Tony. All these principles are really universal.
They are. For instance, I love French eclectic, but you really have to understand what windows go with that, what exterior cladding, as we're going to talk about today, is appropriate for that particular design feature.
The Craftsman style is very popular in our
Oh.
area, and there's a few key components. Big, deep front porches, brackets,
Just-
large overhangs.
Yeah, and just like what's behind us, look at this. There's got a lot of components in it, or certain types of features. So what kind of features do you guys like, or which architectural style?
I really like the Tudor style, and you actually see a lot of Craftsman mixed with Tudor lately.
Oh, absolutely.
The shingle style. It's natural, it's casual, kind of describes me.
Yeah,
I love the modern style, which you don't see all over Fort Wayne, but it's starting to make its way here.
it is.
We do still have some great classic examples of Frank Lloyd Wright and the Prairie style, even here in Fort Wayne.
You're right.
Even with the Horizon, very organic. It's a beautiful style.
Yeah, we've actually built about 3 or 4 of those just in the last year of the Frank Lloyd Wright style. You know what? The other thing that we have to remember too is when you're designing homes, placement of windows, what we call fenestration of a house is so important. And also things like balance, mass, proportion, and here's the good news, asymmetrical homes can be awesome if it's done right. So there is a lot of design features that a builder, and Granite Ridge knows a lot about those features, and we are more than happy to talk to every person to design their architectural desire. So Lonnie, why don't you open up the show and let's
Hey,
talk about it.
welcome to Between the Studs. I'm Lonnie Norris, and this is Tony Reinke, president of Granite Ridge Builders, and this is part of the Granite Ridge Builders team. We're glad you've joined us today. You know, we build custom homes, and our work has changed so much over the last decade or so, and we love coming into your home and talking about new homes, the features, the benefits, energy efficiency components, landscaping, decorating, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So much to talk about. Thanks for joining us as we discuss custom homes in our neighborhood or in one of yours today.
And today, we're going to continue our series on process. So as we said before, we're going to talk about what's all around the home, the cladding. In other words, the brick, the stone, vinyl I think you're going to talk about, the roof loop. So why don't we break off into segments and let's talk about all those architectural features of designing the exterior of your house.
Let's do it.
Go for it. Got the bricks? Okay. I think we got a lot to talk about here today.
Guys, this metal roof, you ordered way too much.
It's really expensive.
It is
too.
really expensive. You know, I could save it. Let's do it something cool. on
Bonnie,
the
you're the
inside.
one that measured this.
That'd be great. You know, so this one here on this house, we have the standing seam metal roof. I love the color. It comes in all sorts, comes in copper colors, greens, blues. You could do a lot with it.
It's a great accent to your home. It is a little bit expensive. On this particular home, you're about $1,200 to $1,500.
You know, for a show statement piece though, it's probably worth it. So let's talk about some more decorations. What are some other cool ideas?
Well, there's a lot you can do to your house to dress it up. We do want to caution you though, you can do too much also.
You can. You want to make sure you don't do too much where it detracts from the house. You want to emphasize the structures of your home.
So one simple idea that's pretty inexpensive would be shutters on your windows. They're a faux shutter. They come in a few different styles, lots of different colors. So that's an easy way to dress it up.
I love shutters. And talking more about window accents, right here I have some window trims. These are also pre-colored, so low maintenance. And you have all sorts of different styles, but it really dresses up your window and adds some height to it too.
So with the pre-coloring, you don't have to paint, which is a huge plus.
Exactly. Now with these craftsman style houses that we're getting, we have a lot of popularity asking for the brackets and the struts here.
And I know we have a whole catalog of different styles, different sizes, and once again, a lot of those you don't have to paint, correct?
Exactly, you don't. And there's all sorts of different things you could do with that. The struts, you know, as a rule of thumb, we say about a third of the gable size is about the height you want for your struts here, like what's behind us. It's just a great way to add a little bit of style to the house.
And here's a great example of a few finished products.
Tony, today we're talking about what's all around. We're talking about the outside of custom homes. And in a previous segment, we talked about design principles on a home. Let's look at this home a little closer and talk about some of those principles.
One of the major architectural styles that is coming back, 'cause what old is new again, is actually something that they refer to as the cottage style or the bungalow or the arts and crafts, all different names for the same type of house. And we've got a great example behind us with that pent roof that's going to be over the garage door.
It's kind of the shed roof there that sticks out. There's gable brackets that kind of extend to kind of look like they're holding it up.
You know, one really interesting part about this garage and the way that it's designed is actually the freeze boards. You've got a 6-inch freeze board that's going to be under that pent roof, and an 8-inch freeze board that's going to be above the pent roof, and that's going to actually go into the breaking up of some of the different features that are going on to it, including those brackets and also that shake siding that's above it.
Right, and that's actually a vinyl product, which is a low maintenance product that looks like a shake, a wood shake, and then just above that is a gable strut.
And those gable struts are really what's being used to really just give it that pop that's going on. So when you're looking at the different architectural styles, you have to look at all the little pieces that actually accent what's going on with the house.
You do, and you know, for a few $100s here and a few $100s there, you can make a big difference on a custom home and personalize it for your home.
And you know what? There is that whole thing with the shake siding that we were going to talk to Kayla about.
Let's go talk to her.
Let's go talk to her a little bit.
You know, Luke, when we talk about what's all around the house, and particularly architectural style and design, we have to look at the roof, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And for the longest time, asphalt shingles have kind of been the staple in our area as far as the roof of choice.
And you're talking about the 3-tab, the 25 years, some refer to it.
Yeah, that's what I have here is a 3-tab shingle, and you can see there's 3 tabs kind of hanging down there. And that's a 25-year warranty shingle. It's got a 70-mile-per-hour wind rating that goes with it. So this is a very good shingle choice.
It's improved over the years too.
It has. But then the next step up from here is actually what we have here, which is this shingle.
Okay, and what do we call this?
This is what maybe people refer to as like a laminated shingle or an architectural shingle.
Okay,
Dimensional,
okay.
yep. You can see on this bottom tab here, there's actually multiple layers.
Okay,
And so it's a little bit heavier than that 3-tab that I showed you before.
It's a really cool profile from the ground.
Yeah, it gives it a little bit more dimension when you're looking at it on the roof. So this actually has a higher wind rating, 110-mile-per-hour wind rating, and it's a limited lifetime warranty.
Okay, and I know it's very popular, and actually for $500 or $600 on most homes we can put that shingle on the roof.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay? And now there's a new product that I'm pretty excited about. It kind of bridges the gap between the architectural and the 3-tab.
Okay.
Yep, this here is what we call a Patriot shingle.
Okay.
And this is actually, you can see it's just one solid tab.
Wow.
But it has some different color variations.
Nothing to blow up.
Right, nothing to blow up.
Seems
And
pretty heavy.
it is heavy. It's actually, this layer here is thicker than the layer on that architectural shingle. So, but with the difference in color, this is supposed to mimic the look of the architectural, so it gives
really
you that
looks
dimension.
good. And at Granite Ridge is now the standard shingle that we're putting on homes.
Yeah, so we've actually stopped using the 3-tab. Our standard's the Patriot, and then the architectural is the next grade above. This is 110 mile/hour wind rating, the same as the architectural, but only a 30-year warranty.
Exciting
That's still very
information.
good warranty.
Exciting information.
Yeah,
Thanks,
and
Rick.
actually, Lonnie, if you look behind us, can you tell if that's a Patriot or an architectural?
No.
Yeah, it's pretty tough, and that's why we made this our standard, just so you know that's a Patriot behind us.
Sounds good. Thanks, sir.
You know, one of the most important features of the outside of the house right now is vinyl siding. But you know, where did it all start? How did we get this?
Yeah, siding is just one term for a broader term called clapboard. So it started out in New England with colonial style homes. In those homes they had no gutters, so they had to find a way to shed the water away from the house. So they would start with a piece of clapboard, and then it would taper down as you got to the bottom, end up being maybe 8 to 10 boards thick.
You know, speaking of the clapboard thickness, the vinyl thickness is really important now.
Yeah, they measure those in millimeters, and at Granite Ridge we either use a .042 or a .044, while some folks are still using a thinner gauge. What's the importance of the thickness of that vinyl siding?
Well, if you have something that's too thin, the siding can bow over time, and you definitely don't want that, or it can buckle. But installing is actually really important for the thickness as well.
Yeah, so how do we install this when we're applying it to the house, Kayla?
So we have the nailing flange here, and they're going to nail that in. It's very important that it's nailed and not stapled, and you don't want it actually to be nailed too tight. If it gets too tight, that's also something it could bow, because it's going to want to move, expand, and contract in the different weathers. So that's very important.
And there's some different things about the vinyl siding that we see out here is color has become a really big deal, and they're offering a lot more variety.
We have a lot more variety in color here. The darker colors are very important. When you do the darker colors, a lot of times that's when you're going to get into your thicknesses too, because the darker color will absorb some of that heat, and you definitely don't want anything to happen to that. So that's important. You know, one other thing that we talk about a lot is the style of the siding. The one thing with the style, they're called a D4 or D5. A couple of those terms. The D stands for double. So every panel is going to have 2 rows of the profile on it. Then the number stands for the size. So this one here is a 4-inch. This is 4.5. A lot of ours are also 5 inches. So it's nice to have that deeper profile too.
And we also give our clients multiple profile choices, not just the traditional beveled edge that we see, but we've got a Dutch lap option here. Why the difference between the two?
You know, just a newer style. You can have a different look. Some people like a little bit more traditional with the bevel. The Dutch lap's a little bit newer. Also, a hint for me, I like the Dutch lap because since there is that ridge in the middle, it can hide if the siding would start to bow for any other instances. The other popular thing right now, board and batten. We can even get vinyl in board and batten. Again, more maintenance, low maintenance things.
What people select with this siding will really have a drastic impact on their house looks from the curb.
Yeah, let's go take a look at the red house. I love that one.
Those are not going to work for the garage door.
No, they're not for the garage door?
No.
Oh, okay.
Now I know you see this as white, but we're actually going to paint this. It's going to blend more with the trim on this house.
You know, that's really interesting that they're really dressing up the garage doors a lot more. I'm seeing a lot more windows as well on the garage doors.
The garage door is really important. It is kind of a focal point of your home, especially when you have a 3-car garage. You see so much more of it.
Is there anything else special that they're doing with the garage doors these days?
Well, like you said, windows. There's a lot of variety when it comes to windows. Here we have a longer window, but you could do something shorter. Some have the window grids, some don't. We have different panel styles for the door. Here you can see it's kind of a beadboard look. Also, another really inexpensive way to dress up your door would be brackets. We have some faux hardware on this door. This typically runs a couple $100s to dress it up. Or if you'd like to do windows in it, you're anywhere from, $700 to maybe $1,500. So not that big of an expense.
Elizabeth, is there anything else special that we need to think of when we're considering our garage doors?
Well, if you're going to do windows, one nice thing is they do add natural light to your garage. So when you walk out there, it is a little bit brighter. But remember, you could have security or privacy concerns. So if it's a lake cottage or you are concerned about security, you may not want those windows because someone could look in.
Elizabeth, can you walk over this way with me and show me this other garage that we have over this way? were talking about what's all around the house, and it wasn't too long ago when we were out at Home Lumber, and you and I talked a lot about Therma-Tru doors.
We did. It's so nice to see an installed finished door here, and there's so many different styles and colors. A lot of things are popular, a really big hot item for people right now.
Now, when I'm looking at the front doors, I'm really not just looking at the doors. I'm looking at everything around it, including what we call the side light windows that are right beside it.
You definitely are, and don't forget transoms. If you have a taller ceiling, you might want a little light coming from above. You could do LED glass, you could do privacy glass, or solid doors. Again, so many options.
I'm also seeing a few more decorative accents around the doors, like the dentile shelf that's right there on the door itself to give it more of that cottage look.
Exactly, you have that for the cottage look. Some people are even putting their own stained glass. I've had some people take stained glass from previous homes and insert it into their doors somehow.
And one thing that they keep telling us is if you add more money to the front of your home and to the front door, it actually improves your home's value. They're saying between 5 and 10%.
You know, that's definitely a big item there. And don't forget about the color of the door. Staining is really popular right now. You can match garage door colors, you can match your interior trim, and we have these dark color paints. This gray one right here is very popular. Even red, have a little bit of fun with it. I've seen actually a lot of yellow and turquoise doors too.
You know, Kayla, I just saw a door on the other side of the street I want to go take a look at, and I was actually reading where they said the door color really shows you what the family's dynamic.
Lonnie, I get these emails a couple times a week. They just don't believe that this special financing option we've been talking about is really true.
You're right, JR. We want our audience to know that it's still possible to buy a brand new custom home with zero down payment, minimal closing costs under $2,000, and payments cheaper than renting. We're talking about a $650 to say $850 per month. Principal enters tax and insurance payment.
We're out here in Magnolia Meadows, which is southwest Allen County. We've got a brand new home, $180,000. The owners just moved in with a payment of $682 a month.
You're right, JR. We've got ranches, we got 2 stories, we got lake lots, we got cul-de-sac lots. You need to call us today about this way to own a brand new home with no down payment, cheaper than renting. Get out of your apartment today.
With locations everywhere, as you mentioned. The good news, too, is, Lonnie, the limits are pretty liberal.
They are. If you make low 20s to mid 70s, there's a good chance you qualify.
And even if that's not the right option, Lonnie, interest rates are historically low on all the other loan types, and people always ask me, did they need 20% down?
No, for 3.5% with an FHA, we can take you anywhere and provide you all kinds of options.
Get out of that apartment, come own a brand new home with Granite Ridge Builders at zero down.
Izzy, I think we get the best segment. We get the oldest and I think one of the strongest cladding or siding to talk about today, and that's brick.
Brick actually started as much as 5,000 to 7,000 years BC, and it was usually kind of a mud brick that usually had some straw or something in there to try to kind of help stabilize it, make it a little bit more solid. But then we've moved over to the fired brick, which is more what we use today.
Sure, and even in colonial days, we did a lot of brick homes, so it is very, very important to us. But why don't we talk a little bit about some of the parts and pieces? For instance, I think you know a little bit about what we call bonding, or that is called how we lay the brick.
So when we're laying the brick, what we see behind us here is what we do most often. It is the common bond. The common bond is just going to lay here, and they kind of alternate the brick pattern here to give it a lot of strength up and down so that it is actually building up upon itself.
And here's some nomenclature for you. So each one of these long bricks are called stretchers. These small bricks here are called headers. And like you said, they alternate the course, and it makes it very strong. Now there's one I don't think that we use a lot in our area of Indiana, and that's called what kind of bond?
And that would be the stack bond, which you can kind of see a little bit of an example here around the garage. It's actually when the bricks, again, are lined up straight next to each other, which isn't very strong, though, if you had it all throughout the entire house. If something happens to the mortar and it cracks, the whole thing could just fall right out.
A couple weak points. Let's start with a little bit about the parts and pieces. So some identification parts.
Actually, one of the favorite accent pieces for me is what we see behind us here is a coin brick. And what a coin brick is, if you grew up with Mario Brothers like I did, is anytime you have a brick part that stands out from the rest of it, it's a coin. And in the video game, you could punch it and a coin would actually come out.
Sure. Now the difference there is coin that you're talking about is C-O-I-N. These are spelled Q-U-O-I-N.
Nice play on words there.
But they really are very, very popular today.
Yes.
Now also you can see a keystone behind us. These can add about $50 to a house, which is not really bad to give a little accent piece.
Yeah.
Also we have some what we call feather-edged corbels, and that's where there's two rows and one is relieving, or in other words it's a little farther out than the other. Okay, some other parts and pieces.
Some of the parts and pieces would be, when I look at our fireplaces, I think about the soldier course, which is when we have the bricks actually standing up tall.
Sure, and here's another tip for you. If you take that and you turn it on end, that's a soldier course. If you turn it the other way so you get the flat portion, that's actually called a sailor course.
And although craftsman style is hugely popular today, we do see a lot of return to brick,
Oh, yeah.
and it's something that you really have to educate yourself on.
Okay, now here's another little part we need to talk about, and that is mortar. How much of a difference does that make?
Mortar can make a huge difference. Actually, it's about 20% of what you're actually seeing in a house when you're looking at a brick home.
Okay, so in other words, each mortar joint is about 3/8 of an inch thick. There's all kinds of ways that you can do it. For instance, what I've got here is something called tooled. There's another thing called troweled. Now we're going to give you 6 examples of mortar joints, and the first one, and this is a good one to use, and we use this, it's called concave. You can see this right here. You strike this through, and you have a nice concave mortar joint at that. There's another one called weathered, flush, and a V-joint. All those are pretty good to use in our territory, but you've got 2 of them that are not.
2 of them that we don't use in Indiana very much are rake and struck. And the reason is because you could actually get a little moisture caught on that little ledge, which again, with us, with as much freezing and thawing as we have, it could really do damage to your mortar.
Sure. Now we've got a really fun Granite Ridge new trend tip, and that's this. Here's a new joint. It's actually a tool, but this is called grapevine. There's a small little line right in between that. So if you'd like to know a little bit more about all these bricks and all the mortars we've talked about, feel free to give us a call, especially Izzy, you have a really fun brick sample in our office, and it's what?
We do. We've got one set of bricks. We've got 2 different ones actually. One that's light, one that's dark. And if you look at the difference, there's 5 different styles of mortar there from the different shades of color. And it makes a huge difference in how that brick appears.
Oh, it's amazing. In fact, I really do recommend that everybody come and see us.
Yep.
Don't you?
Take a look
Well,
at it.
You know, look, when we talk about this all-around concept and architectural design and outside components, we got to talk about stone because it's so popular today.
Yeah, it is. And you know, several years ago we were probably doing 75% brick and 25% stone. Now it's almost flipped the opposite way.
It has. And so let's talk about manufactured stone. A lot of people don't know what that means, but actually the stone that we're using today for the most part is manufactured. What are we talking about?
So that means it's man-made. So it's actually, like we talked about in a previous episode, this is actually concrete. And it's man-made, and you can see it's about 2 inches thick, and we actually just hang it onto the house.
So in other words, it doesn't lay on a foundation.
Right, brick will actually lay onto a foundation and we
Okay.
build the brick up, whereas stone, we actually apply it right to the side of the house, similar to how we install tile.
And what's really neat is that it's actually made in Napanee, Indiana.
That is correct.
Manufactured Jan and stone.
Yeah,
right.
and because it's man-made, it gives it a little bit more consistency than natural stone. It's lighter, so we don't need that foundation. And then it also gives you a lot of different shapes and styles, and you can mix
Colors.
colors together. Yep.
And also, a lot of it comes now without any mortar between it.
Yeah, this
Have
is
a
more what we
lay-type.
call like a lay-tight or a dry stack, as opposed to something like this that would have the mortar joints in it. And mortar can play a big part in that color.
It can be a different color as well.
Yeah.
And for about $15 a square foot, it's an incredible exterior cladding that really changes the house, makes that house pop.
Yeah, and another big misconception is that the stone is actually not structural at all. It's simply just a facade, like you
facade.
said. It's similar to siding. It just gives another dimension to the
Protects
outside of the
frame.
house.
Great. Luke, a stud tip. You know, a lot of people today are combining brick and stone on their homes, particularly on that front facade.
Yep, I've seen it. It's becoming popular.
Okay, got an architectural question. You've been to college, you've studied, you think you know a lot. Looking pretty, you're pretty good look. Well, you're kind of good looking, or maybe not. But anyway, which one should go first on the lower level, followed by the other product? The stone or the brick?
Which one?
The one that looks the heaviest, of course. That would be the stone, followed by the brick.
All right, I did know that, Lonnie. I was just trying to make you feel good about yourself.
Oh, really?
One of the most important design features of any home today goes back to the past, and it's called the column. Well, originally, historically, there was only 4 styles. There was the Ionic column, there was the Corinthian, the Composite, and the Ionic. Now today, we've done a lot different. It's become more eclectic. What do we have?
Yeah, there's a lot of new features on today's columns, Tony. We're using tapered columns
Yep.
with picture panels.
Right here.
We do boxed columns. We do all kinds of different bases, either with stone, with brick, and we call those pedestals.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the components of a column?
Yeah, let me define this for you. So at the top, now you can't see this behind this valance, but there is a capital. That's the very top. Now the capital actually is like cap. They used to, in the past, define their capitals from ladies' hairstyles. For instance, the Ionic, which has that loop, that was from a hairstyle that was very popular. So that's the capital. The next part is the shaft. And then down here you've got the base. Now below that, like you said, this is called a pedestal, but you have what we call the cap. This is called the dado, the middle, and the very bottom is called the plinth. So that's a real good definition of what we have from the past to the president.
Elizabeth, we've been talking about what's all around the house, and part of that is what's around back with the outdoor living space.
Outdoor living is huge. It's one of the hottest trends, and we really think it's a trend that's going to stick and be around for a long time. So here we are in a covered veranda. So we're enclosed, open sides, covered roof, so you can sit out here in all the weather. We have this beautiful fireplace. We're seeing some people do a fireplace, some people not do it.
So, a few more people who are doing this, and then you have the uncovered area as well, and they're actually inserting their fire pit into the center of the concrete. Seeing a lot more stamped concrete, seeing a lot more 3-season rooms, 4-season rooms, and a lot more detail is being done in the backyard.
It's really an extension of the indoors coming out. People are tired of being cooped up in their houses. A lot of times you have a great view. This is a great way to take advantage of that.
There's so many things that you can look at with this, with the more columns, decorating it up with more flower features. Also, the thing I love about this fireplace is you actually have seats built into it.
And cost-wise, for a covered area, you're looking at anywhere from probably $2,500 to $3,000 on up, depending on what you do with that space.
Another big thing that's going on with outdoor living and what's all around is actually outdoor kitchens. We're seeing more built-in grills. We're actually seeing a lot of people stub in a gas line right for the grill, so they never have to worry about running out of propane mid-cooking a steak.
It's a great idea. Well, I think we should take advantage of this and relax.
Let's do
Okay.
this.
What a wonderful way to end the show, sitting out here as we've talked about outdoor living, and here we are in a beautiful example in a beautiful veranda. And if you're ready to start looking into planning your outdoor adventures, your outdoor living section for your next home, this is a great place to start.
And another great thing about today's show, every home that we were taping at today is within 2.5 miles of each other, and they're all open every Sunday from 1 until 4. Everything from $172,000 home all the way up to almost $500,000.
I want to thank you guys for spending part of your day with us today. And as always, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about who we are, what we do, and why we do what we do so well, please just pick up the phone, give us a call, visit the website below. Better yet, come in the front door. We'd love to meet you and help you build your next dream home.
Okay, I promise you guys a barbecue. You ready to start it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get the barbecue going. I'll take a steak.
This is your camera.
Okay.
Ready, guys? And
Am I starting?
And we're off.
And
Yes,
action.
you're
It's
starting.
all good.
You're starting?
Stop. I got it.
You're gonna start. Yes, you're gonna start.
Gotta loosen up here.
All right.
It's all
Okay,
good.
there's our first blooper.
Right.
Yeah, one
You
last
might be
car.
waiting all day.
Yeah.
Hey, Defker, would you go out and block traffic? I mean, they do it in Hollywood. I'm kidding.
Let's start with a little bit about the parts and pieces. So some identification parts. Coins. Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Coins.
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Okay,
We'll go into
yeah,
that. All right, I'll start there.
Yep.
Okay.
When you guys are ready.
Yeah, if you guys are ready, we'll be more than happy to go ahead and do this. If we're disturbing you guys, just let us know. Okay.
Ready, guys.
Hey guys, we're ready when you are.
Yeah, just
No-
let us
no
know.
problem. No
Don't
problem.
worry.
Don't let us hold you. That was Luke's idea. So let's get him. That was Luke's idea.
Me up, that's all, folks.
And the Porky Pig comes out.